Great. I will share my slide now. Second. All right. Okay. Are you able to see my slides?
Yes, we can. We want to click on slideshow so that it's bigger.
Okay, 1 second, just bear with me. That's one thing when you're using a laptop that you
and the children were
can you see it now?
Yes.
Their system, into their beliefs, into
okay, thank you.
because
as soon as you join, please, if you can just go on mute, that will be good. It'll be fantastic. Thank you. Just so that okay, good. So once again, thank you for joining us this evening. It's been a real pleasure to host you this evening. Myself, Bokun Imokwede is my name. For those who know me and for those who don't, I will reintroduce myself. My name is Bokun Imokwede. And my co-host for this event is Dimma Onwobi. That's Dimma. You can see her on the screen if you try and scroll through, just in case she's not immediately available while you're looking. That's Dimma. She's got, I don't know what color of glasses, but sometimes she's trying to compete with me with glasses, but we don't compete. We are sisters. So, you know, well, yes, I'm saying it out there now because I don't know what color she's wearing, but I'm like, why must you change colors of glasses? So this evening, we are, exploring being burnt out. We're talking about burnt out as a state. We are exploring how we navigate burnout as women who live in the UK. And someone might be looking at it and saying that, why do we need to discuss it? What exactly is this, all about? Why is it important to discuss it? As we go further into today's discussion, you will see why it's really important that we look at this, not just at the surface level, not just as, something we sweep under the carpet, but looking at this into, looking deeper, digging deeper to understand ourselves as women, what makes us feel this way. There's so many things we're going to unpack tonight. We're having real conversations. And that's why when I asked you earlier, I said, how are you? And I said it again, that how are you really? It's not about, the standard, you meet Bokun and then she says, how are you? And you're like, oh, you're fine. We really want to know what, how you are. When I say, how are you? I mean, really, how are you? You might have a day that's not really gone so well. You might have, something that is bothering you, might have issue to having to deal with. It's about, having real conversations, talking about our real struggles, talking about, real solutions that can help us through, pulling ourselves together, helping one another to pull through and being there for one another sincerely, not just a tick in the box exercise or, what we're doing. So burnout, for me, for Dimma, when we looked at it and we said, what exactly is it, dictionary meaning, what it means to us, we've looked at it and this is the definition we've come up with. This is what we understand it to be. That is a state, that of emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It's a state. And, it's something that I can relate with, especially as a woman living in the UK. It's something that I know a number of people I've spoken to can relate to it. So what are we hoping to get out of today's conversation? We're open, our learning outcomes would be, let me just go to the next slide. Sorry, oops, okay. Okay. Apologies. Okay. Yeah, our learning outcomes for today is that we'll be able to discover if you are at risk of burnout. Are you at risk of being burnt out? Are you at risk of burnout? You know, what stage are you? Are you at that risk? And what can you do to reset so that you can have a more harmonious life, a life that is not necessarily work-life balance, but where there is harmony between work, life, and every other thing that you want to do. We want you to be able to identify what your stressors are and what are those things that are draining your energy, whether it be your mental energy, whether it be the physical, whether it be emotional energy. What are those things that are draining you? Those are some of the things we want those are some of the things we believe you're going to be able to learn after we finish today. The other thing we've identified as some of the key things that you would learn from this webinar, or the outcomes of this day, this evening's conversation or session, is that you're going to know some tested and effective energy optimization and stress management techniques. So first, once you understand, are you at risk? 1. 2, what are those things that the stressors? What are the key indicators that you have? And then lastly, we've got good news, which is, what do I need to do to get out of this? That's going to be the last thing we need you to be able to take out of this evening's session. Okay, who are we? I would allow Dima to come and introduce herself properly, but she'll talk about herself a bit more. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm keeping it very simple. My name is Bokun Imokwede. If in case you were not around earlier when I introduced myself, so I'm Bokun Imokwede, and as my co-host, you also have Dima Unwobi. For me, I run an organization called Moms Aloud. And what does Moms Aloud really do, or what am I out there to do? It's really about letting the woman know that you have to, understanding that you have to make yourself a priority. You can redefine what motherhood means to you. Motherhood is simply a role that you step in and step out of. It's not who you are. It doesn't define the totality of you. It's all about redefining what motherhood is to you. It's ensuring that you first recognize that you are a woman who now plays a role, and you can be the best you ever want to be. That's who I am. That's what I stand for. That's what I believe in. And that's what, I just go about doing day to day. In terms of Dima, okay, I am going to have to be muting alongside. Once you come in, please, can you just mute yourself? Thank you. In terms of Dima, Dima is fondly known as the Queen of Happiness and Human Flourishing. She will tell you a bit more about herself, but how did I meet Dima? So I was at a point in my life where, when you get to that point and you're asking a few questions that, yes, I wanted to get married, I wanted to have kids, I wanted to, have a good career, I had a list of things I wanted to have. And then I got to that point where even though I had some of those things, I was still questioning myself. I was saying, okay, I think there's much more. And I met Dima at somewhere called the Family Life Institute, which, and I was on a course, family systems engineering course. And the interaction I had with Dima was so, when you experience something and you know that I had so many questions. And as soon as I met her, and through, she's the principal of that institute, the teachings, the modules that we were doing, it just gave me, it was like a light bulb moment. It was something that just, something came over me, and it was like, I became free in my mind. I became free in many ways. I'd been struggling with a lot of things about who was I at that point? You know, like I said, when you're playing the role of being a mother, when you're playing different roles, sometimes it's almost like you forget who you are really. So I was at that point in my life when I met Dima. And honestly, my interaction with her, being, you know, at the Institute on a personal level, was just so life transforming. You know, Dima and I have done a few things together. We've done, you know, we've had a few projects, and then suddenly we started talking about, you know, how women can actually have real conversations, how women can actually, you know, get that support. How can we ensure that we are the best? We're not necessarily after, feminism and all that. No, you know, for us, we believe in humanity, and humanity is a woman is simply a female or feminine expression of humanity. You know, that's who we are. We're not after, the woman needs to know. That's not, we're not after gender equality in any way, shape, form, but it's just helping women to realize who they really are, the power within, that you can do much more. You can go for it. Not just the fact that based on gender, but because you are human and you deserve the best. You deserve the best of life. That's what, you know, we stand for. And that's why we've come to do this together. What else can I say? Just because of time, I probably wouldn't be able to go, you know, into much details, but I'll just move on. Now, in terms of, you know, what the slide you're seeing now, it's about the work philosophy. I've touched on it earlier when I was saying that, you know, you can be the best that you can be. You know, there's much more to you than you putting yourself in a box or in a particular role. There's much more to it. There's much more to you. There's much more. So this is a philosophy that I believe and stand for. This is a philosophy that Dima believes in. You are the expert of your own life. You are the expert. And this is something that, you know, over the years, my work with Dima, you know, in many ways, this is something that we stand for. And guess what? Within you is all that you need. All that you have, you need. So that's what one of the philosophies that we live by and that we stand for. And one of the things I want to just encourage everyone to do this evening is please participate. Don't just, I know some of you are at work, and this is part of the things we're going to be discussing. You know, we're having to, you know, create that harmony between work, life, and everything. So just make sure that whatever you do, you participate, you listen in, you're taking those key things that you need to take away from it. You're not just sat there or you're just listening with one ear. This is a different conversation, a very honest, genuine conversation that women are having to help them get to that point in their life where they just know that you feel that sense of satisfaction, you feel that sense of fulfillment. And honestly, for those of us, and that's why we've targeted women living in the UK, for those of us living in the UK, we know how it is, what it is like being a woman in the UK, what it is like on a day-to-day basis. I've worked with women from my own personal perspective as well, because I coach a number of moms, and when they talk, when we discuss, when they, you know, when we're having sessions, it's very similar things that we all go through. So take, for instance, I wake up at 6 a.m. I try to get some time, quiet time to pray, to do things. I wake the kids up, get them ready, try and get them to pray as well, get them, you know, I've still got a 7-year-old, try and get breakfast for him. And then the older ones go to school themselves. The little one, the 7-year-old, has to drop in school. And then I come back, start my own day, get ready. You have meetings from one thing to another. If the days I have to be in the office, I have to run down to the office, I have to go about my day-to-day activities, you know, meetings and endless emails. If you're having to do face-to-face, you would do it. And then lunchtime, run out, go for a break. If you get the chance, if you don't, you're still going to be working break. And the whole thing just goes on and on. You finish work and then you're done for the day. You're trying to do pick up if you have to pick up from school again. After pick up, you have to think about what the kids are going to eat, lunch, if they're doing after school, if you're doing swimming, if they're doing, piano lessons, you're doing all sorts. You get them ready. And then while you're still thinking, maybe they come back home, they have assignments, homework you need to help them out with. You have, other things that you just need to do. And then you're thinking about dinner, depending on the kind of person that you are, the kind of family dynamics that you've got. Some people have, husbands that can, are very homely and can help out. Some are just not so given to such an area. So it depends on your family dynamics. Then you think about it, and then once the kids are settled in bed again for the night, you're thinking about how you are now going to attend to yourself, your own personal needs, have some rest. If you're doing some kind of personal development, maybe you have training courses that you're taking, you now try to settle in before you now, and at some point you're probably dozing off, already. I don't know how many people can relate to this kind of lifestyle, especially those of us that are in the UK. And for those who are just moving in, you would have seen the difference between the life that you have in Nigeria and when you move into the UK. In Nigeria, you can still probably get help, people that can help you one way or the other. But in here, it's almost like you are on your own. The reality dawns on you. There's no one to help you halfway through the market or do some cooking for you or just help out in any way, shape, or form. It's all on you. So that alone is enough for any woman to feel the pressure. If you see what I mean, I don't know how many people can relate to what I'm saying, but if you can't relate to what I'm saying, or you just feel that, oh, that sounds like a kind of day that I would have had or I would normally have, then just go into the chat box. Let me just see how many people feel that, this is very close to what they do. Okay. Now, I'm just going to go to the next slide while I'm trying to see if there's anyone who can relate to what, what I have said. Don't worry, I can see that people can relate it, and probably some of you even have it in different ways. But that's just so. All I've said so far is honestly, the hustle is real, especially if you're in the UK. You know how you feel. If you just come in, I bet you would understand a bit more. And even if you've been here for longer, you would know what I'm saying. That's the truth. We have different dynamics as well. Some of us, some people have had to migrate into the UK. Some were born here. Some didn't experience, that kind of life. So you're having to now come in, probably you've gotten to a particular point in your career before, and you have to leave all of that, start afresh. So the hustle is real. And that's why I said tonight, what we're having here is real conversation.
But it's, I mean, the grace of God,
oh, it's okay. I was wondering. So, but, and the good news is that it's not all gloomy. It's not all, it's just that we just needed to talk about that. I wanted you to feel the real things. I didn't want it to be things that we could just, talk about casually. So, okay, let me go to my next slide. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but if, just look at it, just look at the statistics yourself. Look at what statistics is showing to us at this point in time, how people, experiencing or having to recover from burnout. This is the statistic. It's real. It's telling you, how people are actually faring, what's happening around us. Okay. My next slide is a question about if you are at the risk of burnout. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the chat. There's a document, it's a PDF, but you can fill it, you can type in it, you can, answer the questions in it. There's a yes or no. I'll just put it in. If you can answer that question, I'll give you some time to quickly answer it. And then I'm going to invite Dima to come. Okay, I'm just going to quickly put that in the chat. One second. Yeah. I'll put it in the chat, and if you can answer it, that'll be good. Okay, so Dima, I would like to invite you over because of time. Hopefully people have gotten it. I would like to invite you over because of time, and I think do you want me to keep sharing the slide, or you do it yourself?
If you can make me co-host, I'd like to share from here,
Okay.
so I can control it myself.
Okay, thank
But
you.
once we're doing that, I just want us to, it's evening, and I think it's evening as well. So I'm just going to say good evening. And I will encourage us to take that checklist. And so just in a couple of minutes, maybe I'm going to give us 3 minutes to do that checklist. And once you're done, you could come back to the chat room and type done. So I just take account of how many of us are deeply participating. And because what you find out about where you are at in terms of your risk of burnout is going to guide the conversation that we'll have going forward. So just in 2 to 3 minutes, I'd like for you to click on that document that Buku has shared and then attempt to answer the question. It's just a yes or no. And once you're done, you come back to the chat room and say done, and then we'll continue the conversation from there. If you understand what you're expected to do, please give me a thumbs up in the chat room. Thank you. Oh, I didn't know my video was paused. All right. Thank you, Buku, for that. It was a great intro. Everyone, my name is Dima. I'm excited to be here with us all. Someone is saying, okay, Buku, you sent the okay, right. Sorry, she sent the document directly to me as if it's only me that should be checking where I'm at risk of. But the document is now in the general chat room. So please click on it. It's fillable on the go. So once you click on it, you're able to answer the questions. My name is Dima Nwobi, like Buku said. I will be sharing with us some of research-proven insights towards navigating burnout, particularly for us as women. Of course, quick disclaimer, I do not live in the UK. I've never lived in the UK. Buku is the sister over there who lives in the UK. But I work as a positive psychology coach and and a family life consultant. So I'll be sharing from 2 things. Research proven insights towards navigating burnout and living a more harmonious life. Secondly, I have a good number of my coaching clients who I have worked with and I'm currently working with who reside in the UK. So based on that, I also have some insight as to real case issues that people over there face, okay? So have you seen the document? Have you taken the checklist? If that is you, because the next thing we are going to do is dependent on that. I like to keep sessions interactive so that we're not just filling our heads with knowledge, but then we're participating on the go. So I will continue from where Buku stopped, but I'll check in again in the chat room to know if you've taken that assessment. I think I want to touch a bit on this statistics as is very vital for the people that are gathered here with us. So what we have here says that 90% of working women report a work-life conflicts, okay? And of course, the source of the statistics is shared there. But what is particularly interesting for people who reside in the UK are the next 2 statistics that I'm going to share with us, which I think should pique your curiosity to know what to do for yourself personally. So some UK trends on searches on the web showed a very interesting increase that between August 2016 to August last year, there was as much as a 315% increase in the number of people who searched for how to recover from burnout. All right. Can somebody see the document? Because I'm getting 2 people say they can't still see it, but I can see it in everyone's chat. So I need somebody to collaborate if you can see it. Okay, so there are people that can see it. Fantastic. All right. So that the people who were going online, going to the web, to consult the web, searching for how to recover from burnout, increased from 320 to about 1,333, a whooping 315% increase. Now, there might be different school of thought. Were they searching out of curiosity? Were they searching because it was something they were dealing with, or the people close to them were dealing with? The statistics doesn't show that, but we know that people increase their search, which also shows how it could be relating to ourselves. But another thing that really piqued my interest when I was doing this research was also statistics directed to the UK. And it showed that adults who were aged between 35 to 49 were most likely, that is most there, likely to be affected by stress, following closely by the people aged between 18 and 34. So the most people who had a potential or were susceptible to stress were the people aged 18 to 34, and they were followed closely by the adults aged 35 to 49. And I know that a good number of us on this call fall under that bracket. So you and I are more predisposed to stress, followed by where our adolescent children also fall into. So that's what makes today's conversation one that for me is very topical and one that we should be paying attention to. So what is burnout? It's just that state of emotional or mental or physical exhaustion. And it's not that we all don't feel exhausted once in a while, but when it becomes burnout, it's classified by two things. It is excessive, it is prolonged. So I could have a bad day, I could have a bad week, I could have occasional things that stress me out. That is not necessarily burnout, but when it becomes excessive, repeated, intensity increasing, and then when it becomes prolonged, not just in frequency, not just in intensity, but in duration of that state of mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion, that is where we say we are suffering a burnout. And if you took the checklist and you notice that from your responses, you had more yeses than nos, that is just a pointer that perhaps you've not gotten to that peak of burnout, but you are at risk of a burnout. And so if there's somebody who has shared, who has taken the assessment, and there are things that jumped at you that you would like to share, I'll just want you to hold it for a moment, because soon you will be going into breakout rooms where you can really share with another sister. Because I tell you, what we're doing here, like Buku said, is having real conversations and sharing real struggles. And if there's anything I know about women, women are so wired to connect. We're so wired to collaborate and just have that sense of speaking to someone and helping us to even figure out things in our head. So I'm not hoping that you're just going to be here and I will just be speaking at you. At some intervals within the next how many minutes we have, you get a chance to also dash into a breakout room and have a conversation with a sister, but not now in a moment. Let's just get some things done. And so if you took that checklist on burnout, maybe you feel that you are at a risk. And what are the things that predispose us to risk of burnout? I will try not to get so theoretical. I want to make it as experiential as possible, but it's important for me to just let you in a bit about the brain. Okay, like I said, I work from a positive psychology angle and a bit of neuroscience. And I feel that when we understand the potentials of our brains, it helps us increase our self-awareness of what we need to do. So basically, we all have that two brains in one, our rational brain and our emotional brain. And then most of the processes we take through life, our emotional brain acts like, how will I put it? A controller, like they help to put us on check. And so when we are thrown into stress, Or when situations in life become stressful, it's our emotional brain that acts to like, hey, hold on, your amygdala is kicked off, and we just go there. And when you are at risk or even at eventual burnout, it just keeps your emotional brain on autopilot, like it's firing and wiring. And we know from research that even that constant state is not even good for our well-being. That consistent burnout, we stand a risk of compromised immune system. And I need somebody here to validate that. Have you been at a time where you were stressed out, you felt mentally exhausted, and then you could even catch the simple flu much more than when you were not that worked up, right? Because your immune system is compromised and there's an increase in the wear and tear in your brain, in your body, right? Even at that, why is it important that we have this conversation on Buku, please help me keep the people muted. I'm kind of getting an interference and it's it's messing up my feed. And when we are also burnt out, our rational brain, which is also what we all need to thrive, like you can barely be existing in the UK and you don't have something you're doing in form of work. Unless like you are part of the royal family or you went to the UK and your parents have hammered and you're just living on inheritance. If not, you've got to work. You've got to do all of these things to keep body and soul together, which means that you need the executive part of your brain to be functioning optimally. But guess what? When we are at burnout, our rational brains are compromised. So it's a struggle for us to even be productive. It's a struggle for us to think rationally. It's a struggle for us to control our impulses. It's even a struggle to regulate our emotions. And so if that is what burnout can do to us from the cognitive and neuro science levels, what else do we need to know? A couple of times when I'm talking with people and somebody says to me, Dima, I want to know how I can embrace, how I can build a work-life balance. Two things come to my mind. When you talk about work-life balance, I'm first thinking, is it practical for you to, because balance for me denotes like some level of equilibrium, some level of proportionate distribution of self and resources. And so I'm thinking, in real life, is it possible? Is it possible for us to have that balance? Another thing that comes to my mind is when we say work-life balance, are we saying that what makes us humans or what makes life meaningful for us can only be distributed into two dimensions, work and life? Is work not a part of life? And so in all of this, I just kind of feel that a quest to work towards work-life balance is like us chasing the shadows, that rather than that, which increases our risk of burnout, but rather than that, maybe we should be paying attention to embracing harmonious living. That sense of how we can show up in the world, deploy our resources in a way that adds meaning to the things that are important to us. I think you need to mute yourself because I'm getting Buku is saying that she's unable to mute you from her end. So if you can hear me, Eunice, you need to mute yourself because the background noise from your point is interfering with my phone, okay? Maybe somebody needs to chat her privately to do that. All right. And so if we're talking about embracing harmonious living, I think this is one joker that we need to understand as women particularly. Because sometimes, like Buku said, I've had interactions with women who felt that they were not living a meaningful life because they couldn't show up in certain ways that other women could show up, or because they needed to invest their energies and resources in some dimensions of life much more than other people do. And when it comes to harmonious living, I see a 4 metrics distribution. So let me keep this out so that you can see my face. I like to interact with real you.
You always want to sleep. Exactly.
And Buku, can you get to the person that is interfering? Like, my brain is messed up with having to talk and then dealing with this background noise. So let me talk about the four part matrix of harmonious living, which I think if we embrace as women would help us in navigating burnout. Not even getting to that level, because one of the things that gets us in this rat race, that keeps us exhausted mentally, emotionally, and all that, is what I call maybe keeping up with expectations. It could be societal expectations, it could be cultural, but more for me, that is a growing concern, is the need for meaning and achievement that has been overly tilted towards that sense of outward achievement. And I'll explain what I mean. So I consulted and worked with a woman, several women, but I'll share two stories. And so for this particular young lady who was in her early 40s, she had children. She had children who were between the ages, school age. She had children between 5 and 10. And there was another particular woman, a friend of ours, who had children that were in their adolescence, 19, she had a child who was 21. Of course, we know that adolescent grows beyond the normal teens. And so she was triggered and was taking on so much so that she could meet up and, feel that sense of fulfillment like her friend who had grown-ups, because those adolescents are grown-ups. And so she could afford to show up at seminars, do webinars. She could afford to take volunteer jobs outside of her normal job, but she was feeling like she wasn't living purposefully, because somewhere again, somebody had sold her the lie that to live purpose was to turn your passion into profit. But that's not even the conversation for tonight. But she was triggered to want to perform, without realizing, come on, do I have the same luxury of time with children who were below 10 years old as the other woman who had children who were in their teens? The expectations of me, aside from work as a mother, was clearly different from hers. While she may need to attend to her children, help them with their homework and all that, the other person just needed to stand in as a coach, and the children were self-efficacious enough to deal with that. Again, if you take it to maybe somebody who just migrated to the UK, and then you're trying to settle down, you're trying to get your children into school, you're trying to get yourself fixed into something, perhaps you're not even working yet, and then you have other friends of yours who may have been in the UK longer than you are, and they seem like more integrated into the system, and you're wondering, how do I catch up with them? If you pay attention to the 4 matrix of harmonious living, maybe that would help you catch your breath and then go at your pace. And number 1 is purpose. Everyone is living a different purpose of life. Sometimes when you don't even know what makes life purposeful for you, it can increase the risk of burnout, right? But if you understand that whilst I may be a Black, African, Nigerian, Igbo woman, and there's some other person who is also of that heritage, what we want out of life is different. And so if I feel that my purpose is tied towards something and I'm making amendments to my resources to do that, you don't need to look at me because you don't know what is driving my direction. The second one is value. I wish there was a way I could help everyone have a conscious knowing of what actually drives their lives, even unconsciously. Because if you understand that harmonious living is value-driven, then you would add that into the mental calculations that you make when you're making decisions and when you are deploying your resources. Because really, your value, it went at the forefront and not just driving you consciously, you will be able to make a lot of gains and not have to suffer burnout as a lifestyle. Of course, I've established that we can all suffer burnout, right? But when it becomes excessive and prolonged, that's when it's worrisome, because it begins to impact every other thing that is important to us. The third for us is season. Like, you need to understand the season that you are in. Are you new in the UK? Have you been here for so long? That is important in you distributing yourself. The season in your marriage, what you require as somebody in your first 5 years of marriage may not necessarily be what another family who are empty nesters require. Like I also shared in the woman's story, what you require if you have children that are younger is not what the other family who have older children would require. And so if you don't pay that, if you don't have that in mind, and then channel your resources appropriately, you will be at the risk of a burnout. And the last one is need. Your harmonious living should be need-driven. Whilst you may have something that is purposeful, something that is value-driven, and even maybe necessitated by your season, is it a need right now? And so if we keep going through these 4 components of the matrix in making decision, you will notice that chances are that you will not be in that reactive state that always pushes you towards burnout. And if this 4 points of mine is making sense to somebody, I need somebody to come and say that makes sense, so that I know we are communicating, because time is running fast and I don't want to keep you beyond the time that we have advertised. So are you making connections on why probably you have been exhausting yourself, or the things you need to pay attention to that may have been predisposing you to the risk of burnout? Fantastic. So Esther says, sense, absolutely. So if that is it, what are those dimensions of life? So based on my studies and my work, I've kind of looked at what are the things that add meaning to life. And I'm able to, capture them in these 12 dimensions. Now, again, another disclaimer, I'm not claiming that this is the ultimate template for meaningful living, but this has been the template I have used in my life and in my work, and I have seen how it has helped people, particularly women, to make so much advancement in their lives. And what is so important to me is having that increasing sense of flourishing and meaning. So it ranges between your spiritual growth, your family, your intimate relationships, other relationships, personal growth, health, your career stroke business, your finance, community contribution, quality of life, fun and recreation, and life vision. Time will not permit us to begin to, break all of them down. But one day I was having a conversation with a woman, and I shared with her these 12 dimensions, and she goes, Dima, just knowing these 12 dimensions is already stressing me out. Like I'm stressed in just the little one that I'm doing. And here you are saying that if I pay attention to these 12 dimensions, I can increase meaning. Where is the time? Where's the resources? Where is the energy? Where's everything to pay attention to all of this at the same time? And I go like, well, how did you think that I was saying you needed to pay attention to all of them at the same time? But let's continue the conversation. So if that is a question in your head, hold it. And as we build on it, possibly I may be able to answer that question. So I want us to just take a pause here. And what I want us to go into the breakout rooms to do, and we'll do that quickly and come back. I know that time is very precious, but I want us to be able to engage. And so what you're going to the breakout room to do, I'll keep the breakout rooms very minimal, 3 people. Should we make it 2? Maybe I'll make it 2 so that it gives us enough time. And I just want you to share 2 things. What struck you when you took the are you at risk of burnout checklist? Was there something that you found out probably you were dealing with or was happening to you, but you never paid attention, but by taking that checklist, it came up to your conscious level? Secondly, what's your take on work-life balance in terms of working to balance them and the approach of harmonious living, particularly when you look at it through the lenses of the 4 components of the matrix? So that's the conversation you're going to have with your partner in the breakout rooms. Because of time, I'm going to keep the rooms at 3 minutes. We'll take 1 minute to just sort ourselves out, 3 minutes. And so you want to give yourself permission to participate. So your partner has 1.5 minutes, you have 1.5 minutes. And if your partner is saying too many stories, you're unable to get your chance, you want to remind the person that it's time for us to switch. I'll try to also send messages for us to switch when it is time. So I'm ready to do this breakout session. Please give me a thumbs up while I sort out the rooms. And whilst you're giving me the thumbs up, I'm hoping that you also understand what you're expected to do. Buku, for some reason, I can't see the breakout rooms. Can you see it from your end and then put them in? Let me know quickly. If you can't, probably we'll just take 2 or 3 people to share here, because I can't see. You made me co-host, but I can't see the option to do that. Is Buku there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you see? I can't. So I moved the hosting right to you.
Okay,
so
don't
is it not
worry.
allowing you to do it? Okay.
No, I can't see breakout rooms here, but that's fine. We'll just move on. And so probably we'll just take a pause, and I will invite anyone who wants to share what that experience did for you in terms of the checklist, or if it's in terms of the approach to harmonious living, looking at the 4 components of the matrix. Maybe Esther, Funke, Maria, or Munachiso that say that makes sense. Maybe you want to share with us in a minute what makes sense to you about that matrix and why were you able to relate with it? Remember, this is real women having real conversations. And so I would want to hear from 1 or 2 people share with us what struck you from the checklist you did and then the approach on harmonious living. Is there anyone volunteering? Buku, can you see? Okay, I can see a hand up. That's Funke. Funke, please unmute
Funke
yourself.
is on. Funke wants to share.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Good evening. I'm sorry, host. I couldn't fill out the questionnaire because I didn't want to miss out on what you were saying. Because I didn't want to miss out. So I carried on listening to you instead. But I've done a screenshot, so I will be filling it later. But
Okay.
I really related with the ensuring work-life balance and those 4. I can't remember the correct term you used for it. I am a firm believer in trying to balance your work and your life. And I know it could be tricky sometimes, but I encourage and I at least I encourage myself and people around me to try to the best of their ability to put their family and their work, their career, their life, balance it somehow. So I'm glad I'm here tonight, and I hope I can learn more ways that can help me eradicate burnout and balance my life.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Funke, for sharing. Who was that said I should share this? So Eunice, the matrix is on Esther, the matrix is on the screen. Do you want to talk about it and how it resonates with you?
Yes. So thank you so much for tonight. I really appreciate it. So I did the checklist just virtually in my head, and I think I counted 11 questions on there, and out of 11 I already had 9 yeses. So that was a bit scary. But then the matrix, I like the way you explained it. I was really struck by the season driven part. And to me, it's just a bit of a reassurance that whatever I'm going through right now, it is a season, rather than, yes, there will be times that I am burnt out. And this has been really helpful this session has helped me identify, burnout and what it actually means. Because usually we don't put a name to it. We just think, oh, we're stressed and all of that. But accumulating all of it, you will get burnt out at some point. But I like the fact that you've said there is a season for everything. You could be facing something that is this the right time? Is this, you know what I mean? But I like that season part. Also, there are some things that I'm a single mom of 4, and I have to work. I have to explain everything to my kids. I have to explain to them, look, we can't have this now, but we can have it later. We can't do this now, we can do it later. But it's just me telling myself, do I need to do it now? Do I need to? So yeah, it makes sense to me. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Esther. Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll just move on. At least you're able to hear from some other person share, and then it's helping you reconnect to yourself. So how do we thrive through the juggle? Because if there is a gender, and even now we know that even the men are also juggling like we are doing. But again, for us as women, because of the peculiarity of our makeup, we need to pay attention to how we juggle, because we can be more predisposed to mental health issues like anxiety and depression much more than the men, not because they don't face that, but again, because of how we're wired as women in terms of our brain structure and function, we have some tendencies to be more prone to depression and anxiety particularly. And so how do we juggle through it all? And not, I like what Esther said, it's like we all can get burnt out, right? But then does it become a pattern? Does it become now a lifestyle? And so let's look at ways that we can truly go through this juggle without it consuming us, while still thriving, while still flourishing, whilst working to invite more energy, more positive emotions to ourselves, and also in the moment, embracing the challenges that come with it, with resilience, embracing the negative events and disappointments and mistakes that come as part of life without crumbling. That's what we actually are looking at that can help us deal with burnout. So all of the conversation I'm going to do henceforth, and you can notice that I'm trying to pick up pace, because again, I want us to be able to have conversations beyond just me talking at you. So just be aware that we're going to be going through a circle that will make you more self-aware. As we're doing that, possibly, like Esther said, there were 11-point statements. She could already identify that she has 9 in 9 over 11. And so that was worrisome for her. But again, as the awareness is coming up, I'm going to also be leading us to embrace that awareness with self-compassion, not to beat ourselves up, but rather for that awareness to increase our curiosity as to, okay, if that is the reality, so how can I deal with this? And then with that self-compassion of knowing, which was why I wanted us to go into the group sessions, because when you go to the group sessions, perhaps you might think, oh, I have 9 over 11. You could meet somebody that has 11 over 11. You could meet another person that has, and so that just makes you, not because you are happy that somebody is at a worse place, but it just gives you that sense of shared common humanity that, okay, I'm not alone on this. And so if somebody else is navigating it, I can also do that. Perhaps you could be with somebody who is a 5 and you're like, okay, she's at a better place. So tell me, is it that you don't get burnt out? And then the gist could be like, oh, this is what I do, or this is how I've been approaching it. And so the self-awareness moderated by self-compassion, where you're not beating yourself up, where you're staying mindful, where you're tapping into that shared humanity, should enable self-care. That the question will now be, okay, with what I'm learning and knowing that I'm not going to bite off my head, what will I do to care for myself? That's the circle I'm hoping that we have kickstarted from the conversation, and we'll continue that way as we make progress. One thing we need to pay attention to when we're having conversations around burnout and stress is to know that energy is a finite resource. When you start your day, yes, you could have some rituals that you do to energize yourself, but as you go through your day, your energy is going to be depleted, both physically and mentally. And so if we know that, and again, I'm hoping that I'm talking to people who have that sense of awareness that, you know what, drop your superwoman cape wherever it is, because we are just, I wanted to say ordinary human beings, but I didn't want it to sound somehow. A minute, I need to take T'Challa out of here. Take T'Challa out, thank you. And so we just don't just put yourself under that pressure of wanting to be a superwoman. Realize that energy is a finite resource. Not just your daily reserves of energy, but even your energy you are able to bring to your day even as you age. So the kind of energy you had when you were 18, it's not the same energy you're going to have when you're 35. It's not the same energy you're going to have when you're 45. No matter how many supplements you take, you need to have that conscious knowing. And if you are a lady and you are in perimenopausal stage, or you are also even going deeper into menopause, you would also recognize that awareness that my energy levels is a finite resource. And so if that is it, how do I optimize my energy? That is one of the things that can help us in dealing with burnout. I love an engaging class. And so if I'm saying something that is resonating with you, let me just have the chat room busy and somebody just sharing what is dropping for you. That energizes me, like, oh, okay, we're making some connections here. And so there are 4 critical things I want you to know about stress. Again, if we know that energy is finite, daily reserves of energy deplete. Even reserves of energy deplete biologically as we age. And then depending on whatever hormonal fluctuations you are going through as a woman, maybe you are pregnant, maybe you are post-pregnancy, maybe you are breastfeeding, all of those nuances also take its toll on our energy levels, right? And then if you're dealing with issues beyond just normal day-to-day challenges, if there are some traumatic experiences that you're navigating, if you are new in a place, like you're a new migrant, there are also certain things that will be taken away from that energy. And so recognizing that can help you. What are the 4 things I want you to know about stress, which is very important in this conversation? First of all, it's important that you know that stress is a demand that your brain's response to a demand. I mean, if we can get this, this is going to be like a lifesaver. That stress is just my brain trying to respond to a demand that I'm making of it. And so if that is fundamentally what stress 101 is, then that goes to say, number 2, that stress can be helpful or harmful. Because as human beings, we need a level of stress for that initial movement of motion. Because if you leave us, we just want to relax and be taken care of, right? And so we might not even be so motivated to do the things that we need to do. So a level of stress is important for life. So, but what now makes stress helpful or harmful? That is where we begin to have the conversation. Thank you, Esther, for helping me collaborate that. You're one of my top engagers in this class. Thank you for keeping my energy going. So if stress is our brain responding to a demand we're making of it, and stress can either be helpful or harmful, how does that play out? Stress becomes either useful or harmful, depending, first of all, of our perception about it. What do you think of stress? What do you say to yourself when you're stressed out? What do you say to yourself of circumstances of life? Your patterns, how you live your life, aka your lifestyle, could even be part of how stress could be an opportunity or a threat, and then your practices. So I like to group them as the 3 P's of stress: your perspective, your patterns, and your practice. And let me share something that might interest us. Okay, I'll share this, then I'll share the statistics. So what is stress really? If stress is our body, our brain responding to a demand we're making of it, Buko, please keep me on track. I do not want to go beyond the time. So just let me know how I'm faring in terms of time privately, and then so I can know when I can pick up and the things I need to just rush over, right? So stay with me on this. If stress is our brain's response to our demands, then what makes stress increase or decrease? What makes our brain give particular responses to the demands we make of it that now either increases or decreases stress? And I like to say that there is a inverse correlation or relationship for stress. I wish I had the graph here. for pressures and capacities to say that as the pressures on us increases, if the capacity, and then when I'm talking about capacity, I'm talking in terms of capacity of person, agency, which is largely dependent on your beliefs around yourself and your ability to function in those areas. So your agency, your ability to apply yourself, we could summarize that as your mindset, right? So that to just give it a compound name. If the pressure is increasing and that capacity of your belief in yourself is increasing, with a corresponding increase in skill sets, so you might believe I can do all things as a woman, and then there's something that you need to accomplish, but you don't have enough skill to do that. It is going to increase the stress on you because the pressure is increasing, but there's no corresponding increase in skill set. All right. So the three things is, if the pressure is increasing, there's corresponding increase in mindset, skill set, tool set. Likely you're going to perceive that stress as helpful, and then it may not likely lead to burnout because you will be able to do certain things that can help you. But when it becomes a threat is if there is an increase in the pressure, but there is no corresponding increase in capacities in terms of mindset, in terms of skill sets, in terms of tool set, then stress increases, and then the stress, based on our perception, our patterns, and our practices, can then become harmful. And you know that we were able to establish that burnout is prolonged and excessive stress. Okay, so let's make this practical. So you have a job that you're supposed to deliver on, but you have some doubts around your capacity to deliver it. Yes, it may show up as procrastination, it could show up as any other thing, but there's an increase in the stress because you can't just apply yourself to do it. And let's even imagine, oh, I believe I can do it, but it requires a particular level of skill set that you don't yet have, or you are growing, or sadly, you don't even know how to go about it. It's going to increase the stress. So that means that if we are going to be able to deal with stress so that it doesn't become prolonged and excessive, leading to burnout, then we must pay attention to our pattern, our perceptions, our patterns, and the practices we have associated to stress. Because it's not just stress that is burnout. It is prolonged excessive stress that is burnout. Making connections, please hit the chat room and say, Dima, I can connect. I see Nami saying hitting well, Motai says so good, so fantastic. So stay with me. I'm trying to tie the knots together so that we're leaving here with some concrete steps as to what we can do differently, okay? All right, I can see some connections, fantastic. So if we say that, let me share with you some statistics that would interest you so that it even increases your sense of motivation that, okay, so that means there's something I can do here. Dr. Bola says I can relate. Fantastic. So we've seen from research that stress is most likely going to be harmful if because of stress, I need a woman to get this, please. If because of stress, you begin to feel inadequate, you feel out of control, or you get caught up in this sense of meaninglessness, that is when stress can become harmful. So which means that, yeah, somebody says staying hydrated helps while in stress. Fantastic, Maria, great connection. Awesome, very eloquent, thank you. So that means that I may be stressed, but if because of that stress, it now does not begin to affect my self-belief, my self-concept about myself, where I don't feel inadequate, I don't start feeling that sense of loss of control, I might tweak that stress to something helpful. This is where the perception comes in, right? We also know that when people believe that stress is helpful, people who believe that stress is helpful are more satisfied in life. There's a research around that, and you could gain more knowledge on that when you go through the book, The Upside of Stress by Mark Gonigal. Okay, so you can check online, the book is there. And he did some research and found out that people who held a healthy perception around stress were more satisfied in life. They were less depressed. They were more productive and happy at work. And they had greater confidence to cope with that stress. What was the difference? Their perception. And then we're going to go deeper into that even as we're wrapping up how we navigate stress. Again, I had mentioned this earlier, which is why we should pay attention that chronic stress actually does kill our stress cells. You know, it disrupts the brain's synaptic regulation and even shrinks the prefrontal cortex. Remember what I talked about the brain? So if we are so predisposed to stress, it shrinks our prefrontal cortex, and that's the executive center of the brain. So stress would even impact on your ability to tap into your intellectual reserves, your emotional reserves, your social reserves. So it just makes a mess of you. And so when you allow that stay and becomes chronic, that is when it becomes burnout. So with all of those statistics, what do we need to do? It's important that per time you are able to identify your stressors and energy drainers. What are the things that stress you? And what are the things that drain your energy? And so let's look at it from this concept of harmonious living. And so you want to, time may not permit you to go through all of the dimensions, but just I like for you in participating. Okay, fantastic. Buku, thank you for that. In participating, I want you to just bring to mind which dimension of your life is actually giving you the most stress now. For some people who want to take it further, you could look at 3 dimensions. But if you can bring to mind the dimension in your life that is giving you the most stress, what is the specific situation around it? So it could be career. What about career? Is it about being able to deliver on your KPIs? Is it about being able to get the kind of job? Is it what specifically about career is the stressor for you? And you want to graduate this stress in terms of intensity on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is the least stressful intensity, the lowest level of intensity, and 10 is the peak, highest level, maximum intensity. Where is it for you on that scale? Because this awareness would help you know what to do. And so if somebody has been able to identify at least one dimension, and it could be several situations in a dimension. So for somebody, it could be parenting, and then there are different nuances under parenting that are stressors for you. It's okay. Remember, you are the expert of your life, so you know yourself better. So if you've been able to identify that, can you come to the chat room and say, done, so that I know that I'm flowing with people who are participating? Yes, I have identified the situations in a specific dimension in my life that is stressing me out, and I've graded the intensity. Yeah, okay, fantastic. So 1, 2, 2 done. Where are the rest of us? I have how many people on this call? So I need to see that we are on it together. Okay, and so if you're doing that, I like for you to now move on based on that. Academic success, it depends. See, Onu is saying, where do I place academic success? So academic success, are you schooling? And so you're talking of academic success. So you could fix it into anywhere. It could actually be around your career or business if the academic success is something that you're doing to progress in career or business. If the academic success is something that you can juxtapose under your life vision, are you taking that academic pursuit because it's going to impact what you want to do in terms of legacy? Then you could put it under that. So it's specific. Is it personal growth? So it could find expression in any of those dimensions, depending on why you think your why for the academic success is important to you. So it could be under career, under life vision. It could even be under personal growth. And so if that answers your question, let me know. Okay. So the next thing you want to do is audit your current energy drainers. So you've identified that dimension in your life, the specific situation, and you know the intensity. What are the major stressors there in your life right now? Is it a capacity gap or overload? Remember, we talked about stress increasing when pressure is increasing and there's no corresponding increase in capacities. So for you in that area that is stressing you out, is it a capacity gap in terms of, oh, I don't have enough skill set for it. I don't have enough tools that can help me for this. Or right now, I am very low in myself, feeling of self-efficacy, or my self-belief in myself is that low. Or could it even be an overload? Because sometimes the stress is when we're biting more than we can chew. So whilst capacity may be a gap, it could also be an overload. So are you taking on much more than you can handle based on purpose, value, season, and need? Okay, so you want to ask yourself critical questions. How can I optimize my energy better? Do I need to drop certain things right now? Do I need to delegate? Do I need to get help? And the help could be in any form. Is it a help to fix my mindset? Do I need to work with a coach to do that? Is it a help? Is it help to fix my skill set? Do I need mentoring or whatever? You need to identify what is the action plan that you need to deal with that gap so that you can optimize your energy. Again, so there are certain questions there, but more importantly, the central question there, when it comes to navigating, somebody is asking that I go back to the previous slide. I will decline, please, because I need to quickly run. Buko has given me notice that I have 15 minutes. Now, this is recorded. So if you want to go back, you can take the recording and go back at on your own self-pacing, right? So that we can move on, okay? So please bear with me. Apologies for that, okay? But in navigating, and I almost said anxiety, navigating burnout, the central question is, how do I preserve the most important person in this equation, which is you? So you may not be able to complete this exercise here, but it's something you want to get thinking about. What do I do? Is there something I need to delegate? Is there something I need to do now? And is it something I need to put on hold? These are questions that only you can answer. And if you belong to a family dynamics, maybe the input of family is important, but recognize that ultimately, how do I preserve the most important person in this equation, which is me? Again, 2 minutes pause. Let me feel the pause in the room. I could relate with this. Something struck me here. I made a shift even as we were going through the last slides. I'll need somebody to just put up their hand and share with me, what connections did you make? Which part of it resonated? Because I'm hearing, oh, so good, done, good. And so if you want to just, share with us what is good about this and what connection are you making that can help you stress better and, deal with possible potential burnout. Quickly, let me look out for hands. Those that have not spoken, Bashi said for her, capacity gap is the issue here. Okay, Bashi, so maybe you want to also, chunk that down further. So when you say capacity gap, is it capacity in terms of skill set? Is it in terms of tools? Is it in terms of mindset? Is it in terms of human resources that you're needing? So what capacity gap is the issue? Because identifying it, becoming aware of it will help you. And Funke said increased pressure minus same capacity is equals to increase. I like how you put the mathematical equation there. Increased stress and burnout. Esther said increasing my capacity, skill set, mindset will help manage stress. Fantastic. So I'm going to take that as the responses and then we would move further. Okay. So this is making sense. I'm connecting, I'm learning something. This is a good use of my Friday evening. Let me see the comments in the room. I will skip this because I will still talk about it a bit upfront. So let me just skip it because of time. Thank you. Esther is loving this. Esther, I'm loving that you're here with me as well and sharing the experience. Okay, so let's move further. So what are we talking about here? So we're still on thriving through the jungle, and I'll just share some key things that is important and then we'll tie it up. I'm hoping this was going to be a conversation, but because of time, I will just go through to it. What's your take on multitasking? Do you think it's a myth or a fact? Whilst I go through it, I will stop by to read your comments in the chat room. I'd actually structured it that we were going to go on, have a conversation around it, but time will not permit us. So Ade said is a fact. Sionu said is a fact, and meat and facts, fantastic. Maureen said is a fact. So let me just share certain things with us, and then we will decide if it's a myth or a fact, right? I actually do think that the people that told us that women multitask well, from my perspective, and it's not just my personal perspective, it's also my professional perspective based on increasing research from brain scans and the likes, we're beginning to see that multitasking actually does have more negative impact on our brains than the supposed gains, right? To say that our brains are wired to focus on monotasks per time. And I'm trying how I will explain this without going deep into the theory, that as humans, we fire our emotional brains, we trigger them to want to take the auto stress responses when we have opened loops all over the place. So when you're multitasking, it's like you're doing several things at the same time. So you have multiple open loops, and that increases the stress on our brains because our brains are wired to focus, give full attention to one thing per time. That research has shown that when we multitask, we actually do suffer the risk of reducing productivity by as much as 40%. And there is a likely increase in errors. Multitasking over time is firing our brains to focus out of the natural rhythm of focusing on monotasks per time. And so over time, it has a cumulative impact of leading to decreased memory, and then causing us to have difficulty concentrating. So if a woman who has tried to multitask can relate with what I'm saying, I need to hear. And if that is not your case, you still feel that multitasking is a fact, I need to let you know that more research is showing that multitasking is a potential cause of burnout. Because not only are we stressing our brain to function out of the normal rhythm, we are actually exhausting ourselves because it requires mental calculations to perform tasks. And so you are doing different things at the same time. So the work your brain has to do is much more than it would do if it was doing all those things one after the other. And so that thing is draining women, and it is leading to different potential risk. So what do we need to do instead? Rather, is to embrace the power of the next, breaking down what you need to do into sub-goals, into sub-loops, and then focusing on one per time, and then moving to the next action. In fact, if you are somebody who is dealing with procrastination, now I'm digressing a little bit, but you're dealing with procrastination and it's a struggle for you, one of the first things you need to do to help your brain transcend beyond procrastination is to stop looking at the bulk of what you want to do and just focus per time on the next action. You will notice that reduces, because what procrastination is actually your brain crying out, I'm going to be overwhelmed doing this, and so it hides away. But if you don't look at the big picture, you break it down to small goals, and per time you're just focusing on the next action, you will notice that those little next actions compound to incremental progress, and that is more brain friendly than wanting to focus on all the goals, okay? So if that made sense to somebody, let me get a thumbs up. So what do we need to do? To deal with burnout, you need to embrace a minimalist approach to life and goals in all ramifications. Whether it is goals you are focusing on, little goals per time, there is no need exhausting your brain, wanting to do 10 things, and you can't track the progress of the 10 things. Why not just do one thing, make significant progress, and tap into the power of small wins to re-energize yourself to keep going? minimalist approach to life, even down to our closets, that you will notice that the energy of looking for clothes in a heap of many clothes that you don't even know when last you wore them, even for you in the UK that have to change weather, noticing that when it's winter and you pack away your summer clothes away from your closet and all that, adds to a level of productivity in your life, even punctuality and all of that, as against when all of them are muddled up and you have to be searching amongst them. So minimalist approach to life. So ask yourself, where are the places in my life that I'm taking on so much that I need to reduce? You will look at your life that way and do what needs to be done, because I'm trying to move fast. So if you're looking in terms of goals, like I said, you don't want to do so many things and then you don't make progress and then you are burnt out and then you have so much downtime and recovery time. Why not focus on 1 per time or 3 per time? Okay, embrace mindfulness. You may just have, you can't, how will I put it? You would suffer to navigate life in a meaningful way if you don't have even the tiniest bit of mindfulness practices that you do. Just noticing what you're needing in the moment, just noticing what is happening around you can be what you need to make the changes and the adjustments that would save you from burnout. And so not necessarily having to sit in the lotus position every day, but at least having a routine where you can calm down. And somebody said to me, Dima, and I'm going to share this. Somebody said to me, Dima, I'm hustling to even find time in 24 hours to do the things that I need to do. And you're saying I should be able to take out 5 minutes or even 10 minutes in my day to just sit and reflect. Like, you don't understand that there's no time. And I said to her, if you're at that point in your life where you feel you don't have time to sit down for 10 minutes in 24 hours of your day, that is even when you need it more. Because it means that you are not really in control of your day as much as you can. And so, whilst there may look like a lot of things you need to do, no time, attend to family, attend to children, after school activities and all that, you need at least 5 to 10 minutes. I say 20, in Amplify Your Life, I talk about 20, but let's even start with baby steps of just sitting with yourself, practicing mindfulness, listening to yourself, listening to your emotions, listening to your thoughts, paying attention to what is even happening inside of you, listening to your body speak to you, like telling you what you need in the moment, listening to your soul and caring for your soul, listening to your spirit. That is one way that may not be popular in dealing with stress, but it's something you really need to. Remember, the more aware you are, the more you can trigger self-compassion and self-care. And like Remileku said, is also great relaxation. Buku, how much time do I have left? I'm not going to go all of this. Then interestingly, okay, embrace leverage. So I've talked about embracing minimalist approach to life, embracing mindfulness, embracing leverage. And I like what Archimedes said here. It might be relating to science and physics, but I relate it to human experiences. And he said, give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I'll move the world. Like, this just captures what the leverage that I'm talking about. And there are 3 layers of this. So staying leverage is recognizing your superpowers. What are your strengths? Because how we would all deal with stress and potential burnout is individualistic, depending on how we tap into those leverages. So how conscious are you of your strengths? And I'm not just talking your talent and your skills. I'm talking about the way you live out your virtues in a way that it's unique to you, that comes effortlessly, that energizes you, that way of being that enables you to deal with challenges in a way that speaks to your person, and you don't see it as work, right? The need for you to have a conscious knowing of that super support. Again, living in the UK may be difficult to tap into the kind of traditional support we have in Nigeria, but then even super support of having a circle of like minds, a circle of people, friends, family friends, coaches, mentors, human support systems. Like what we're doing here is tapping into a super support. You may never have met me, but we're here sharing ideas together and we're learning. And with what you take home here from here today, you apply it, you leveraging on the knowledge from today. Your supreme being. Like, never is there a time where anyone needs to be reminded of recognizing that power outside of themselves that is divine, that can help you to navigate life. And all of this, when moderated by your super values, actually does help you to navigate stress, and not just stress, but increase the meaning in your life. Okay, so this is a resource that will be shared. I will share it. We'll send out the mails to everybody who registered. This is just a free survey that helps you to get a conscious knowing of your strengths, because we know from research that when you are playing from your strengths, it increases your resilience, you are able to problem solve better, and then of course it increases meaning, and you can navigate stress even better from a place of strength. But time will not permit me to delve into that. So if you registered, expect this link so that you can take the survey and then identify your strengths and how you can use them. I will wrap up with this so that we can, share ideas and how we can move on from here. Self-care is beyond the spa. And if you're going to navigate burnouts, you need to pay attention to that. Again, it is you looking at what your body is needing, what your soul is needing, what your spirit is needing. That's self-care. It's not just going to get your fingers manicured or the spa to get a massage. All that are important. But what about your soul care and your spirit care? I have a list of different types of self-care here, but I will not speak to that. So they are different. It could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be social, it could be spiritual, it could be personal. Self-care can even be space, like, giving yourself boundaries, taking care of your personal space. Your financial is also self-care, being able to budget, to plan, and to share. Of course, what you're doing today is also self-care, because you're learning, and the learning will help you to, care for yourself better. So all of that is important, but quickly, let me wrap it up here. How do you tap into the power of next? If there is anything that we as women do very well, is tapping into the power of female bonding. And so when Buku and I conceptualized this idea of having conversations, and this is the first of many webinars that we're going to be having, but this is just the first. In subsequent times, we're going to be requiring you to fill out surveys to let us know challenges and issues you would like us to visit that has to do with your well-being as a woman. We're going to have conversations around that. If there are issues around parenting that you're having, you want to also share it, so that if there are areas that covers our expertise, we can deal with that. If there are areas where we would invite experts to deal with that, we will also invite them. But I just want you to know that this is an ongoing conversation. We just want to share. Some time ago, last year, I started Real Women, Real Solutions, Real Struggles on Clubhouse, and that kind of died. I got tired of it, but then I want to have real human connections, okay? And so what's next after this is just so that we can continue this conversation. Hoping that today was useful to you. What other conversations do you want to have? And we are looking at beyond just having the webinars. Can we have a place where women, and a time where women can come, let down their hairs, and then we just talk? So we're introducing a weekend getaway just for her, where we can all come out on a weekend and just sit together to connect, to laugh, to play, to learn, and just to tap into that feminine bonding energy. So I'm just going to pause here. Thank you for listening to me. And I'm hoping that what I shared with you would help you. Again, like I said, the conversation continues. So I will pause and invite Buku to come back and share with us. Buku, what is the next? Where are we going? And what is the plan ahead of time that continues this conversation so that we can have more real conversations with our fellow women? Buku, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you just add me to Spotlight so both of us are there together?
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you. If you add me to Spotlight there, yeah, I'll be able to.
I think you.
Oh, yes, I can see. Yeah, this is me. Thank you. Fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm seeing people. Omotayo said, Coach, you're indeed a blessing. So blessed to be of your tribe. Thank you, Omotayo. Very helpful. Thank you, Dima. So, Buku, tell us what's next. Maria said,
okay.
Let me read Maria's comment. The key is minimalist approach. It is the best way to optimize achievements in life. Thank you. Secondly, learn to love yourself and create a me, myself, and I time to find your zen. That's fantastic. These are the best instructions I'm taking from tonight. Thank you both for a fantastic session, very insightful and informative. Thank you, everyone. So, Buku, over to you. Where are we going next?
Okay, so from everything you've heard tonight, you've heard real conversations, we've heard, the fact that we do need that circle where, we can be that support for one another. Guess where we're going in the UK for everyone here? We are off to Milton Keynes. This is the first of many. Listen, it's the first of many. So for those of you who feel, oh, you're feeling stressed out, you're overwhelmed, burnt out, and you've heard this one and you think, oh, I really want more. Come to Milton Keynes. We'll be waiting for you. And it's a weekend getaway, like Dima mentioned earlier. It is 2 nights and then like 2.5 days. You're going to feel refreshed, recharged, empowered. There are lots of activities. If you think you've heard so much from this, wait until we have a face-to-face session where we're actually doing these things, where you're going to leave the retreat with the tools that you need to make sure that every time you feel like, oh, I am a bit overwhelmed or I'm feeling burnt out, you can actually bring out those tools. And they are real, they are effective, they're transformational. These are things that have been proven to work. We'll give you simple tips that can actually help you, that can tell you, that can, that could just transform you completely. And guess what? Even if you think that, I don't want those tools, why don't you just come for a vacation, an average vacation, just come and spend time, just to see my face, see Dima, let's dance together, let's just, just spend some time together. So where we can, spend some time eating good food, eating dinner, and not worry about anything. And guess what? You would be enjoying the view, the scenery that you're going to just be exposed to. So Milton Keynes, we're looking at the 9th to the 11th of June. Okay, where would it be? Okay, so when? So fantastic. That's what I just responded to now. Is the 9th, Friday the 9th of June till the 11th of June. I said, wow, fantastic. So Friday the 9th of June to the 11th of June is the date. Now, it's in Milton Keynes. It's going to be at one of the resorts in there. Friday the 9th of June to the 11th. In terms of, someone said sadly she's not in the UK. Oh, that's fine. That's okay. Don't worry. We will be coming to I'm sure we'll be getting to you very soon, because this is it's bigger than just the UK, but we're starting off in the UK. And I tell you something, it's the beginning of greater things, honestly. What other information am I missing out in this? Now, how do you become a part of it? If you think that this is something that is of interest to you, we'll be putting in the chat a WhatsApp group. We're opening a WhatsApp group for those who will be interested in participating and being a part of this retreat. Book your flights and join it. If you want to be a part of it. Milton Keynes is, for those of us in the UK, it's like in the center. It's not far from Birmingham. It's like not far from the Midlands. So what we try to do is look for a central place where we can all be. So for instance, I live in Manchester, I live in the north. So I'm going to have to come down to Milton Keynes. So Milton Keynes is not far from London. It's not far from most places, you know, averagely, because where a lot of people stay. So it's amazing. But if you know that you'll be a part of it, if this sounds like something that is of interest to you, can I, you know, see in the chat what you think about it? Is it something that you would love to be a part of? And if you're interested, I'm going to ask Adiola if you can please. Dr. Bola said I'm in. Yes, people are saying they're in. Fantastic. Okay, so Diola, if you can help me put the link, super excited, put the link to join the WhatsApp group in the chat. There's a link to join the WhatsApp group in the chat. So if you know that this is something that is of interest, you've looked at your diaries, the 9th of June to the 11th of June seems free for you, and you can, you know, add this into your schedule. Please just let's get into the WhatsApp group. I don't know if I have the WhatsApp group just yet. Let me see. Let me make sure that I have it. Now, in terms of the cost as well, nursing mothers, come. Nothing is stopping you. Just come. We just need to let us know, because you probably are the ones that need this the most. If you let us know, we would make arrangement with the hotel to make sure that, you know, there is a special arrangement for yourself. You have everything, the facilities are suitable for you and the newborn, and also why not? If not, nursing mothers are probably the ones that need this. So come on board, jump on board. So in terms of the cost, for Milton Keynes, on the average, we're actually we're talking to about 3 or 4 hotels, but one of the ones that most likely is one that is the something by Marriott. I can't remember top of my head. It's one of the hotels that is run by either Marriott or Hilton, one of the hotels there, but we'll be spending that time together. If you want to stay alone, that's so let me start with double occupancy. So if you've got a friend, definitely everyone here has got a friend that you can bring along. Just drag somebody and say, let's go together, let's go and learn. It is going to be £350 if you're sharing. But if you like someone else who just says, you know what, I probably not got a friend, or I need that space, I just need that alone time, it would be $450 if you want to stay alone. And don't forget, this includes your dinners, it includes lunch, it includes time we're going to spend in the rooms together. The time that we're going to spend doing a lot of activities and learning, the workshops and gifts and so many other things that will come with the package. So that's what we're having. So if you're staying alone, it's £450 for one person, but if you're willing to share with someone else, it'll be £350 per person for 2 of you to share. And if you're interested, like I said, let me see if I have the link to join the WhatsApp. Okay. I'll put the link to join the WhatsApp now directly. I don't think Diola is able to put the link there. That's one. And also, if you want to make a deposit, we've made arrangements. We've made an arrangement for you to, okay, let me just get the link to, 1 second. Dima already said.
Diola has sent the link.
To the WhatsApp?
Yeah, it's there.
Oh, okay. Okay, fantastic. I was trying to, you know, that bit of multitasking, we decided that that's not something we want to do. Okay, so yes, so that's the link to join if you're interested. Then the other option is that if you want to make a deposit today, what we've done is we've tried to make it as minimal as possible. We've said maybe people can start to put, say, £50 down. You can do more, but we've made it as a minimum of £50. If you want to, you know, start to make a commitment towards it, it might be that, okay, I get this £50 this week, I'll drop it there. I'll get another 50 or something, I'll put it there. Just like that, just, you know, creating a pot where you can start to put money aside. That loose change that you're having, just quickly put it and get ready for it. So, Diola, if you can also put in the chat the link to make the payment, the £50 deposit. If you can help me put in the chat the link to make the payment. Okay, so yes, Dima has already, so she's also she's reminding me that actually we're going to have limited spaces because we can only, you know, attend to a number of people per time. So we're pegging it at 25 people. So 25 people and that's it. 25 people and that's it, because, we can only deal with, work better with people in smaller groups. Imagine having such a large crowd and everybody just, So if you want to make a deposit, there's the link to make a deposit there now that Diola's put on there. Thank you, Diola, for putting that there. So you can make a deposit. There's a minimum deposit of £50 that you can make now. Also, don't forget, join the WhatsApp group. If you've got a friend that you know that should have been here or needs this so much, please forward it to your friend. Let them join the WhatsApp group. Let's talk. Let's see who is interested, so we can pass more information to those who are ready. And you might be here and you're like, okay, I can't make the £50 deposit just yet, but I want to be a part of it. If you join the WhatsApp group, at least we can put some dates to it and say, we can put some dates to it and just know that at least these are the numbers. We know the numbers are working. We have some other people who are already on the list that probably are not here tonight. So, okay, someone's talking. You might need to mute yourself. Kuburat, you might need to mute yourself. I can hear you interfering. Okay, so on that note, I've given, I think, almost everything. Dima, is there anything I've not covered in terms of and then we'll probably need to let's just take some questions. I don't know if there's anyone that's got any question, anything burning that, yeah, that's fine, Kubra, that's okay. I just thought I'll bring it to your attention. If there's any question that, you've got that that you really wanted to ask while Dima was talking, but you didn't get a chance, this is your opportunity. Anybody with any question, burning question, something that is not clear, something you need to know more about? I'm just checking if there's any questions in the chat just yet. Any questions at all about some of the things you've heard tonight? Anything you need clarity on? Don't see any questions just yet. You might just raise your hand so that in case you're trying to type. Okay, someone has got something. Okay. Okay, Dima, we've got 1 or 2 questions in there.
Okay, I'm seeing Somto. Okay, so we have 4 minutes so that we don't keep them beyond 9 o'clock so people can go and do what they need to do. But I'll try to answer Somto's question before we leave. So thank you, Somto, for that question. It says, your biggest struggle as a woman and how you have both overcome. So I'm thinking you're asking us differently. So for me, when it comes to me as a person, in terms of my biggest struggle as a woman so far, so in next month, May the 21st, I'll be turning 46. And so if I think of my biggest challenge so far as a woman, I will put it to one thing, which is more occurring even in this stage of my life. And that would be dealing with associated challenges with my reproductive system. So I'm at that phase in my life where I have heavy periods because of my menstrual cycle. And so that's my biggest challenge. I don't know about any other person because it predisposes me to 2 weeks of fatigue, tiredness, and all that leading up to my period. And then when the period is there, it's heavy. I look worn out, I look drained. Like right now, currently, I'm in the last day of my period. So if you can notice, my eyes are a bit drawn in, right? Because it's that period of my time. So that's my biggest challenge so far. When I think about childbirth, think about the struggles of doing work and all that, I don't think any has actually dealt me this blow than this. But something that comes close to that was also having an anxiety disorder sometime around 2014, 2015. So I'll say those two are my biggest challenges I've faced so far as a woman. And so how have I navigated it? The circle I shared with you, self-awareness, self-compassion, self-care. I just need to know what is happening. Prior to knowing what was happening, a lot of things were happening in my head. I was scared. Did I contract one terminal illness? Why am I always feeling tired and all that? But then I submitted myself to do the testing and the processes, and I realized what was happening. That did not take it away, but it just makes me know, okay, don't beat yourself up. When I feel drained, I order my day so that I have small compassionate breaks in between. And then I am so in touch with what is happening in me. So mindfulness is one of the tools I have had to lean on even more intentionally. So I have proactive routines that I do in setting up myself in the day, but I do not have to explain why I shut down. I do not have to explain why I say no to taking opportunities, because I recognize what I'm dealing with and what my body is needing. And so that helps me, even if things are popular and everybody is doing it, but my energy at that level cannot handle it. I don't feel like I'm missing in action because I know what I need and what I'm giving myself. And the days that I am energized, I put in all the work I need to do. But the days I need to be on my bed and cover my duvet and be on Netflix because I am physically drained, I do that with no shame and no regret.
Thank you, Dimma. Because of time, yeah. That's possibly the only question we can take tonight. And honestly, ladies, if you've got more questions, wait until we meet face to face where we are actually having this conversation. So don't forget, the link is in there. If you want to join the WhatsApp group, we'll continue our conversations over there. So I'm just reading the messages. Please, yeah. I'm a bit distracted. I've got some visitors I've just stepped into where I am, but please bear with me. So if you want to continue the conversations, please feel free to join the link. I'll also put the link to the replay, the link to join the WhatsApp group, and additional information, the resource that Dimma shared, and a few other things in the email that I'll be sending out to everyone that's registered. But really just want to appreciate you for your time. We really, really want to say thank you. And we hope that we'll be seeing you in Milton Keynes if you are joining us. If you're not, okay.
Buku, I think you should also, beyond joining us at Milton Keynes, this is March, Abby. We also have
the last day. Yeah.
We have another webinar in May, so we'll also be sharing details. So we are hoping that we can keep the tempo and have one webinar every month, even beyond the getaway, because like we said, we're trying to form a community of men who can share knowledge together, come together, share their struggles and share their solutions. So just know that we're in for this for a longer term, at least test run this for 1 year to see how it runs and see what we need to do better. So beyond just that, we want to see you, play with you in Milton Keynes. Staying with us gives you insights to the activities we're having, particularly the monthly webinars that we'll be hosting at the end of every month, which this is the first of many. So we'll have another in May, another in June, and going forward. Milton Keynes is just, let's come and learn together in relaxing, rejuvenating, away from home experience, which I hope to see as many of us there. But the conversation continues in the WhatsApp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's it. And I think that's a wrap, really. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And I'm just trying to read the messages in the chat. So, and that's it, really. Dimma, is there anything else that I've missed?
Nothing there. We're done. We're 3 minutes beyond time. I think is a good place to wrap it up. And so go keep embracing a minimalist lifestyle, embracing mindfulness, embracing, what's the third one now? Minimalist lifestyle, mindfulness. I can't remember the last one.
Is it self-care?
Embrace leverage.
Leverage. How could I forget? It's one of the sweetest of them all. Thank you for reminding me. Again, please remember to share the link to take the VIA strength survey so that they can get a conscious knowing of their strengths. On that note, I think it's see you in the community.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate and we don't take it for granted. So see you very soon. So see you in the community, indeed.
Thank you,
Thank
Dima.
you so
Thank you,
much.
Esther. Bye. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Bye.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye.
Thank